observation. Every time humanity has built a powerful new tool, we have faced the same question twice. First, what can this do for us? And second, almost immediately after, what can this do to us? Fire could cook food or burn down a village. The printing press could spread knowledge or spread propaganda. The internet could connect the world or expose it. And today, we stand at exactly that same crossroads with artificial intelligence, except this time, the tool is not passive. It does not simply sit there waiting to be picked up. It learns, it adapts, it makes decisions. And that changes everything about how we think about security. So today I want to talk to you about artificial intelligence and security, not as two separate topics that happen to intersect, but as a single, tangled, urgent conversation that will define the next several decades of human life. I want to walk through three things: how AI is transforming security in our favor, how it is simultaneously becoming one of the greatest security threats we have ever faced, and finally, what we as individuals, as organizations, and as a global community must do about it. Part 1. AI as the shield. Let's start with the good news because there is a great deal of it. For as long as security has existed, whether we're talking about a lock on a door, a soldier on a wall, or a firewall on a network, the fundamental challenge has always been the same. Defenders have to be right every single time, while attackers only have to be right once. That asymmetry has haunted every security professional in history. You can build 10,000 defenses, and it only takes one gap, one moment of human error, one overlooked vulnerability, for everything to collapse. Artificial intelligence is the first technology in human history that meaningfully closes that gap. Consider cybersecurity. A modern enterprise network generates billions of events every single day: login attempts, file transfers, network requests, sensor readings. No team of human analysts, no matter how large or how skilled, could possibly review that volume of information in real time. But an AI system can. It can sit there tirelessly, watching every packet, every login, every anomaly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without ever needing a coffee break or a vacation. It can learn what normal looks like for a particular network and flag the milliseconds something deviates from that pattern. A login from an unusual location, a file being copied at 3 a.m., a device suddenly talking to a server it has never spoken to before. This is not theoretical. Security operations centers around the world now depend on machine learning models to triage alerts because the sheer volume of noise would otherwise drown out the signal. AI-driven threat detection systems today can identify malware based not on a static signature, which sophisticated attackers can easily disguise, but on behavior. They watch what a program actually does once it's running, and they catch it the moment it starts acting like a threat, even if it has never been seen before. This is called behavioral or heuristic detection, and it has become one of the single most important advances in defensive cybersecurity in the last decade. AI is also transforming physical and national security. Satellite imagery that once took human analysts weeks to review can now be processed by computer vision systems in minutes, flagging troop movements, illegal fishing vessels, deforestation, or the construction of military infrastructure. Border security agencies use AI to detect anomalies in cargo scans that the human eye would miss. Disaster response teams use AI to predict where wildfires will spread next, or which areas are most likely to flood, giving emergency services precious hours to evacuate people before disaster strikes. In the world of counterterrorism and intelligence, AI helps analysts sift through oceans of intercepted communications, financial transactions, and travel records to identify patterns that would be invisible to any single human investigator. It doesn't replace human judgment, and I want to be very clear about that because it's a point I'll return to, but it dramatically narrows the haystack so that human experts can focus their attention where it actually matters. Think also about how AI has changed the economics of security itself. In the past, robust protection was something only large, well-funded organizations could afford: governments, major banks, multinational corporations with dedicated security teams numbering in the hundreds. Today, a small business or even an individual can access AI-powered antivirus software, automated vulnerability scanners, and intelligent password managers that offer a level of protection that would have required a full security department only 20 years ago. In that sense, AI has done something remarkable. It has begun to democratize security, putting sophisticated protection within reach of people and organizations who never could have afforded it before. Healthcare security is another area worth mentioning. Hospitals hold some of the most sensitive data that exists: medical histories, genetic information, mental health records, and they have historically been among the most vulnerable targets for ransomware and data theft, in part because so many hospital systems run on outdated infrastructure. AI-driven security monitoring is now helping hospitals detect intrusions faster, segment their networks more intelligently, and respond to breaches before patient care is disrupted. When a ransomware attack can shut down an emergency room, the stakes of getting this right are not abstract. They are measured in human lives. And I would be remiss not to mention supply chain security, an area that has become increasingly critical as our economies grow more interconnected. AI systems now monitor global shipping, manufacturing, and logistics networks for signs of tampering, counterfeit components, or compromised software embedded deep within hardware before it ever reaches its destination. A single corrupted component in a piece of critical infrastructure, a power grid controller, a water treatment system, can create a vulnerability that lies dormant for years before being activated. AI's ability to continuously monitor these enormous, sprawling systems for subtle anomalies is quickly becoming one of our most important lines of defense against this kind of long-game sabotage. So when we tally up the ledger on this side, the picture is genuinely encouraging. AI has given us tools that operate faster than human reaction time, that see patterns invisible to the human eye, and that make sophisticated protection available to people and institutions who never had access to it before. Even in our everyday lives, AI-powered security has become almost invisible because it works so well. The fraud detection system that freezes your card the moment someone tries to use it in another country. The spam filter that keeps phishing emails out of your inbox. The facial recognition that unlocks your phone in a fraction of a second while rejecting a photograph held up to the camera. These are all small, unremarkable miracles of applied artificial intelligence, and we barely notice them because they've quietly become part of the background of modern life. So on one side of the ledger, AI has made us safer, faster, and more resilient than ever before in history. It has given defenders, and for the first time, a tool that can operate at the same speed and scale as the threats they face. Part 2, AI as the sword. But here is where the story turns, because every one of those same capabilities can be pointed in the opposite direction. The very qualities that make AI a powerful shield, speed, scale, adaptability, and the ability to learn, make it an equally powerful sword in the hands of those who wish to do harm. Let's talk about cybercrime first. For decades, launching a sophisticated cyber attack required real technical skill. You needed to understand networking, cryptography, programming. That barrier to entry protected us, in a strange way, because it limited the number of people capable of causing serious damage. AI is dissolving that barrier. Today, generative AI tools can write functional, malicious code for someone with only a basic understanding of programming. They can craft phishing emails so convincing, so perfectly tailored to a specific target, using information scraped from social media, mimicking a colleague's exact writing style, that even trained security professionals have been fooled. This is called spear phishing, and AI has turned it from a labor-intensive, bespoke attack used only against high-value targets into something that can be automated and deployed at massive scale. Then there is the matter of deepfakes, synthetic audio and video that can make it appear as though a real person said or did something they never did. We have already seen deepfake audio used to impersonate company executives, tricking employees into wiring millions of dollars to fraudulent accounts. We have seen fabricated videos used to spread political disinformation, to damage reputations, and to sow confusion during moments of crisis, when the public most desperately needs to know what is true. Think about what this means for national security. A convincing fake video of a world leader declaring war, released in the final hours before a critical decision, could trigger real-world consequences before anyone has time to verify whether it's genuine. The gap between seeing is believing and reality has never been thinner, and it is closing further every single month. AI is also transforming the battlefield itself. Autonomous drones, AI-assisted targeting systems, and algorithmic decision-making in military contexts raise profound questions we have barely begun to answer. When a machine can identify and in some cases engage a target with minimal or no human oversight, who bears responsibility if it makes a mistake? What happens when adversarial nations develop AI weapons systems faster than the international community can agree on rules to govern them? This is not science fiction. Autonomous and semi-autonomous weapons systems already exist and are already being used in conflicts around the world today. The technology has outpaced our ethical and legal frameworks, and that gap is one of the most dangerous vulnerabilities we currently face as a species. There's another layer to this, one that's less dramatic, but arguably more insidious: the security of the AI systems themselves. As we hand more and more critical decisions over to AI, in finance, in healthcare, in infrastructure, in defense, those systems themselves become high-value targets. Researchers have shown that AI models can be manipulated through something called adversarial attacks, where a tiny, often imperceptible change to an input, A few altered pixels in an image, a slightly rephrased sentence, say, can cause an AI system to make a wildly incorrect decision. Imagine a self-driving car's vision system being tricked into misreading a stop sign as a speed limit sign. Imagine a facial recognition system at a border crossing being fooled by a specially designed pattern on a piece of clothing. These are not hypothetical laboratory curiosities. They have been demonstrated in the real world, and as we depend more heavily on AI, the incentive for adversaries to discover and exploit these weaknesses only grows. Let me also raise the issue of critical infrastructure. The power grids, water systems, and financial networks that modern civilization depends on to function. These systems were, for decades, considered relatively safe simply because they were obscure and disconnected from the public internet. That era is over. As these systems become increasingly automated and networked, they also become increasingly exposed to AI-enabled attacks capable of probing for weaknesses at a scale and speed no human attacker ever could. An AI system can test thousands of possible attack vectors against a target network in the time it would take a human hacker to test a handful. It can learn from every failed attempt and adjust its approach in real time. This is what security professionals mean when they talk about the automation of offense. Attacks that once required a skilled human operator sitting at a keyboard for hours or days can now be delegated to a machine that works faster, more patiently, and without ever growing tired or careless. There is also the darker frontier of biological and chemical security, where AI tools originally designed to accelerate drug discovery, identifying which molecular structures might cure a disease, can, in principle, be redirected to identify which structures might cause the greatest possible harm. Researchers have already demonstrated, in controlled and responsible settings, how quickly such systems could generate lists of dangerous compounds if turned toward that purpose. This is precisely why leading AI developers have begun building safeguards directly into their models to prevent this kind of misuse, and why this particular risk is treated with such extraordinary seriousness across the industry. It represents perhaps the clearest example of why security cannot simply be bolted onto AI after the fact. It has to be considered at the very foundation of how these systems are built. And then there is the question of who controls this technology at all. Unlike nuclear weapons, which require rare materials, immense infrastructure, and specialized expertise that naturally limit proliferation, powerful AI capabilities can, in principle, be developed with nothing more than talented researchers, sufficient computing power, and enough data. This means the traditional tools of arms control, inspections, treaties, material tracking, don't map cleanly onto this new domain. A small, well-resourced team, a criminal organization, or a rogue state actor could potentially develop and deploy dangerous AI capabilities with a fraction of the resources that were once required for comparable threats. Part 3. The space in between. Now, having laid out both sides, AI as shield and AI as sword, I want to spend a moment on what I think is the most important and most overlooked part of this conversation. The vast, murky space in between, where the very same tool serves both purposes simultaneously, and where the line between defense and offense becomes almost impossible to draw. Consider this: the same generative AI model that can help a security researcher discover and patch a vulnerability before it's exploited can also help a malicious actor discover that same vulnerability first. The same facial recognition technology that helps reunite missing children with their families can be repurposed for mass surveillance of political dissidents. The same predictive policing algorithms designed to allocate resources more efficiently can, if built on biased data, entrench and even amplify existing patterns of discrimination. This is what technologists call a dual-use dilemma, and artificial intelligence may be the most dual-use technology ever created, because unlike a chemical formula or an engineering blueprint, AI capability isn't a fixed object. It's a general-purpose capacity for problem-solving that can be pointed at literally any goal, benevolent or malicious, with only a change in intention. This is why I believe conversations about AI security that focus only on building better firewalls or smarter detection systems are missing half the picture. The deeper security challenge of our era is not simply technical, it is a question of governance, of values, of who gets to decide how this technology is used, and what safeguards we build in before it's deployed, rather than after something goes wrong. Part 4. What we must do. So where does that leave us? I don't believe in standing up here and simply frightening you with a list of threats and then walking away. That would be irresponsible. So let me offer, as clearly as I can, what I believe the path forward actually looks like for individuals, for organizations, and for governments. For individuals, the first line of defense remains, as it always has, awareness and skepticism. The most sophisticated AI-generated phishing email in the world still relies on you clicking a link, opening an attachment, or wiring money without verifying the request through a second channel. Build the habit of verification. If a call, an email, or a video asks you to act urgently, especially involving money or sensitive information, pause and confirm it through an independent channel before you act. That single habit will protect you against the overwhelming majority of AI-enabled scams, no matter how convincing they become. I would also encourage every person listening to treat their own digital footprint as a security asset worth protecting. The more personal information you share publicly, your daily routine, your family members' names, your employer, your voice recorded in videos and podcasts, the more raw material you hand to anyone who might want to build a convincing impersonation of you. This doesn't mean living in fear or disappearing from the internet. It means being deliberate. Ask yourself before you post something whether it could be used against you or someone you love if it fell into the wrong hands. That single moment of reflection costs you nothing and can save you a great deal. Families should also have honest conversations about this new landscape, particularly with children and older relatives, who are disproportionately targeted by AI-enabled scams. A grandparent who receives a phone call in a voice that sounds exactly like their grandchild, claiming to be in trouble and in urgent need of money, is facing a threat that simply did not exist in this form even 5 years ago. Establishing a simple family code word, a phrase known only within the family that can be used to verify identity during an unexpected urgent request, is a small, low-tech countermeasure against a very high-tech threat, and I would encourage every one of you to set one up this week. For organizations, security can no longer be treated as a department that exists off to the side, brought in after a product is built to check a box. Security, and specifically AI security, has to be built into the design of every system from day one. That means red teaming your own AI systems before adversaries do it for you. It means training every employee, not just the technical staff, to recognize AI-enabled social engineering. It means investing in AI-powered defense tools with the same urgency that attackers are investing in AI-powered offense tools, because right now, in far too many organizations, the defenders are still bringing outdated playbooks to a fight that is fundamentally changed. Organizations also need to rethink how they verify identity internally. The old model, trusting a phone call because the voice on the other end sounds like your CFO, trusting an email because it appears to come from your CEO's address, simply does not hold up anymore. Multi-factor verification, out-of-band confirmation for any financial transaction above a certain threshold, and a culture where employees feel empowered to pause and double-check an unusual request without fear of seeming paranoid or insubordinate. These are no longer optional best practices. They are essential infrastructure, as fundamental as a locked door. Leadership also matters enormously here. Security cannot be treated as purely a technical problem to be solved by the IT department in isolation. It has to be a boardroom priority, with executives who understand enough about how these AI-enabled threats actually work to ask the right questions, allocate the right resources, and model the right behavior. An organization where the CEO ignores basic security hygiene will never successfully convince the rest of its employees to take it seriously. For governments and international institutions, the task is harder, slower, and more important than anything else on this list. We need frameworks, not to strangle innovation, but to ensure that the most powerful and dangerous applications of AI, particularly in weapons systems and critical infrastructure, are subject to meaningful human oversight and international accountability. We need investment in AI literacy at every level of government so that the people writing our laws actually understand the technology they're regulating. We need international cooperation on the hardest questions: autonomous weapons, critical infrastructure protection, the security of AI research itself, because a security gap in one nation's AI systems can very quickly become every nation's problem, and we need to resist the temptation to treat this as a race that must be won at any cost, because a security shortcut taken today in the name of speed can become the vulnerability that is exploited tomorrow. History has shown us, again and again, that the nations and institutions who win these long-term technological contests are rarely the ones who moved fastest and most recklessly. They are the ones who built durable foundations of trust, safety, and cooperation that allowed the technology to be adopted, sustained, and trusted over the long run. Conclusion. Let me close with this thought. Artificial intelligence, at its core, is not good or evil. It is a mirror. It reflects and amplifies the intentions of whoever is holding it. In the hands of a security researcher trying to protect a hospital's patient records, it becomes a shield of extraordinary power. In the hands of a criminal trying to steal those same records, it becomes a weapon of equally extraordinary power. The technology itself does not choose sides. We do. That is both the danger and, I believe, the reason for hope, because it means the outcome is not predetermined. It is not written into the code. It will be written by the choices we make, as individuals who stay alert, as organizations that build responsibly, and as a global community that chooses cooperation over a reckless race to the bottom. We have faced moments like this before in human history, moments where a new form of power outpaced our wisdom to control it. What set apart the times we navigated successfully was not the absence of danger. It was the presence of foresight, of humility, and of a willingness to build guardrails before the damage was done, rather than after. Artificial intelligence and security are not two separate stories. They are the same story, told from two directions at once: the story of what we are capable of building and the story of what we are responsible for protecting. The question in front of all of us, engineers, leaders, citizens, is not whether AI will change security forever. It already has. The real question is whether we will rise to meet that change with the seriousness, the wisdom, and the shared responsibility it demands. I believe we can, I believe we must, and I believe the work starts with every single person in this room today. Thank you.